This video comes out the day before my wedding. Tomorrow, Saturday, if that makes any sense, I will be getting married. How crazy is that? But ignoring that for a second, this video is about a bunch of fast SUVs. All of them cost less than 20 grand. Nothing else needs to be said. Hit the like button for this video and for the fact that I'm literally getting married tomorrow. And make sure you subscribe as well. If there's any reason to subscribe, it's because I am literally getting married. It could be your present to me. Let's get straight into it. Let's kick this video off with the Range Rover Sport, specifically the L320 generation with the 5-litre supercharged V8 engine, which makes 502 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 6 seconds. This was actually the first generation Range Rover Sport based on the Range Stormer concept car, though nowhere near as cool as the Range Stormer was effectively a coupe SUV being a 3-door. But aesthetically the two are very similar, and the car sits on a modified version of the Discovery 3's chassis with a shorter wheelbase and overall smaller, sportier dimensions. It's surprisingly capable off-road too, with an interesting suspension design and terrain response system making it pretty useful. Not that that's what most of these cars will ever be doing, as it's also built to waft around on the roads in luxury and comfort with that more opulent, typically Range Rover styled interior. All in though, it's actually pretty quick and got facelifts in both 2009 and 2012 before ending production in 2013. I would go for as late a facelift as possible personally, as I think they look more modern and came equipped with more up-to-date technology, so you have a slightly better quality of life. That is, as long as you don't fall foul of Greenpeace, who protested the Range Rover Sport's development, suggesting that it was effectively a pointless car because it's not used or specifically designed for off-road utilities applications like the Defender. Unfortunately, they're not known to be the most reliable of cars, with diff problems, engine problems, suspension problems and all the rest, and some relatively high prices for part replacements. For example, sourcing the air suspension can run you into the thousands. But it is the cheapest car on the list, starting at around £9,000, with 20 grand getting you a 2011 model with 60,000 miles on the clock. Next up, it's the smallest SUV on this list, as it's effectively a larger RS3 with its 2.5-litre turbocharged inline-5 engine producing 300 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 5 seconds. Over the standard Q3, the RS gained a bunch of technology to make it drive well despite the larger size, as well as of course some quality of life upgrades to retain some of the luxury you might expect out of a relatively expensive SUV. This includes stuff like the Bose surround sound, fine Nappa leather interior, and some other nice fiddly bits to remind you that it is a performance SUV, like the carbon fibre used on the interior, the sports seats, the multitude of RS badging and all the rest. I would say the RS Q3 makes for a great road trip car. You can fit all the stuff you need in it for a nice tour around Europe or whatever, get a bit of performance out of it thanks to its design, be comfortable in the luxury setting, cruise along the motorway with no issues, and enjoy some sweeping roads thanks to how dynamic it is. The only thing I'd say to that though is the RS3 would probably do largely as well as the RS Q3, just with better handling on those more fun roads, though it would very much come down to personal preference. One thing that remains great about the car for me though is that inline 5 block, which does sound immense when on tap and is way more inspiring than the equivalent inline 4s. These run you around £15,000 at the bottom end, and 20 grand will get you into a 2016 model with 80k on it. That engine has typically been pretty strong on reliability, but it's worth noting that some owners have complained about interior quality and jerky downshifts. In third on this list, we have the Mercedes ML63 AMG, a bit of a sleeper if I'm honest, because no one really expects an ML class to have a 6.2-litre naturally aspirated V8 engine producing 502 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 4.8 seconds, some ridiculous pace out of this beast. It sits on the second generation ML platform, which was a predecessor to the GLE platform that we have today, and was released all the way back in 2005 as an almost entirely new car over the first generation. Key focus has been made on aerodynamics, trying to make the car less draggy and a bit more planted, with a bunch of additional modernizations like the 7-speed automatic gearbox. In ML63 AMG spec, that engine was the most powerful naturally aspirated V8 in an SUV in the world on release, which is great if it's performance that you're after, but terrible for the wallet, as running costs are known to be incredibly painful. The interior is a little bit dated now, but it remains both sporty and luxurious, if only for its era, with some weird features too, like the automatic gear selector being placed on the stalk behind the wheel rather than in the center console, but of course you do have the option of driving it with the pedals instead. The ML offers great value for money considering the AMG badge, as it starts at around £11,000, with 20k being enough for a 2011 model with 60k on the clock. On reliability, the issues with that engine are well known at this point, especially because it was used in so many other AMGs, and most problems relate to deterioration of hoses and valves around the block. Outside of that, some owners have said the car isn't that much better than the cheaper ML500, so a sensible person might consider that too. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you are, then do hit the like button and subscribe as well if you are new here. And in the comments, let me know your thoughts on fast SUVs. Are they the way forward as we move into having bigger cars generally, or do you find them a little bit uninteresting. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. Just missing out on the top spot, we have the Porsche Cayenne Turbo from the second generation Cayenne, which comes with a 4.8 litre twin turbocharged V8 engine, producing 493 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 4.5 seconds, some serious numbers for an SUV. These are properly nice cars for the money, it must be said. Where the first generation Cayenne is starting to look a little bit like a classic, but is decisively dated, the second generation just looks that bit more modern. In the right spec with a dateless private plate on it, I think you pretend to be a far newer car than it actually is. The Turbo brings a hallowed nameplate to the Cayenne. Memories of the Widowmaker and subsequent generations of an aggressively fast 911 spring to mind whenever I hear that name attached to a Porsche, and the Cayenne definitely doesn't disappoint in terms of its pace. This pace is matched with a lovely new Porsche interior. Honestly, Porsche do their interiors so consistently well, and there are a wealth of different specs you can go for in there. I personally like the tan or brown interiors, but you can also go all out with these, like the red and black two-tone setup. This interior update came alongside the Panamera and is not a million miles away from the Cayennes you see today. Another benefit of the Turbo was the extra luxury features that you got, like voice recognition, 4-zone climate control and heated rear seats, and a new premium sound system, all nice to have when bombing down an autobahn. These start at around £18,000, making it the most expensive car on the list, with £20,000 getting you a 2012 model around 90,000 miles on it. Coil packs, fuel pumps, thermostats and transfer cases offer the main problems on Cayennes. Taking the top spot in this video is the BMW X5M, like the Cayenne, coming from the second generation of that car, with its 4.4 litre twin turbocharged V8 engine, which achieves 547 brake horsepower and a 0 to 60 time of 6.5 seconds, although I've seen reports of it doing 4 seconds to 60. Where you have the M2, M3, M4, M5 etc. in the non-SUV BMWs, the brand decided to move the M to the end of the car names for the SUV versions, otherwise MX5 would have clashed a little bit with a certain popular roadster. But the ethos behind it is the same as those non-SUVs. It's a performance-focused car at its core, and the X5M was built to compete with the ML63 AMG I just mentioned and the Porsche Cayenne Turbo S, not just the turbo, so hence on release it was the most powerful car in its class and takes the top spot in this list as a result. It's not just power though, it was built to handle well too, with the suspension being specifically built for the car, plus the electronically controlled distribution of power to get the car to balance better when turning corners at speed, that you can actually turn this off, as well as the traction control and get the car to drift, which is what you might expect out of any fast BMW. It also had the largest brakes on any production BMW on release to absolutely anchor that massive frame down to the road, plus of course the more aggressive overall stylings both outside and in. If you're after one of these, you need to spend a minimum of around £16,000, with 20 grand getting you a 2009 model around 70,000 miles on it. Injectors, PCV lines, vacuum pumps and battery drain are some key issues with these, and they can be quite expensive to maintain and run. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, a like would be much appreciated, and thank you as well to everyone for watching, and of course the page for their continued support. If you want to see some more luxury SUVs that are slightly more expensive, then click up here and subscribe down here.